You arrive quietly, no rush, no urgency. Welcome, dear traveler of the night. Tonight you've found your way to a place where history moves slowly, where voices are soft, and where the past is allowed to breathe. This is a story about sleep, survival, and endurance, about how ordinary people slept and stayed alive during the brutal winters of medieval Europe. Not the romantic version, not the one with glowing castles and warm hearths, but the real one, cold, dark, quiet, human. Here, you don't need to learn anything. You don't need to remember dates or names or battles. Nothing will be tested. Nothing will be demanded. You only need to listen and let the world drift gently around you. Before we begin, take a moment to make yourself comfortable. Dim the lights if you can. Let the room soften. If there's a fan nearby, turn it on low, just enough to create a gentle, steady hum. If there's a blanket, pull it a little closer. Let your shoulders sink. Let your jaw loosen. Take a slow breath in through your nose and release it gently through your mouth. That's it. No effort required. You're safe here. This isn't the polished version of the past. This isn't the medieval world of heroic certainty and warm stone halls. Tonight we step into something colder, quieter, more honest. We're going to explore how people slept through freezing nights, how they shared warmth, how hunger, darkness, and fear shaped their days, and how simply surviving winter was once a daily achievement. If this journey helps you relax, if these slow stories bring you comfort, you're warmly invited to like and subscribe so you can return whenever the night feels long. And if you feel like it, let me know in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is for you. It's always comforting to see how far this quiet community reaches, across time zones, across sleepless nights. Now, if your eyes want to close, let them. Imagine the modern world slowly fading away. The electric hum disappears. The walls soften. The air grows heavier, colder. Congratulations, you've just woken up in medieval Europe, in the heart of winter. The light? You're alive. The shadow? So is the cold. And it's everywhere. This is medieval Europe in deep winter, a world of straw beds, shared warmth, animal breath, and cold that seeps into bone. You wake slowly. Not because you're rested, but because the cold won't let you sleep any longer. Your eyes open to darkness. Not the gentle darkness of night curtains, but the thick, heavy dark of a world without lamps, without glass, without insulation. You are lying on a bed, if it can be called that. Beneath you is straw, flattened, scratchy. It shifts when you move, releasing a dry, dusty smell that mixes with damp wool and old smoke. Your body aches. At your age, and you're not considered young anymore, aches are simply part of existence. Your joints feel stiff. Your fingers are slow to respond. Your toes are numb, not painfully yet, but distant, like they belong to someone else. You pull your cloak tighter around your shoulders. It's thick wool, heavy with use, and it smells faintly of dampness and time. You slept in your clothes. Everyone does. Undressing in winter would be unthinkable. Around you, others breathe. You're not alone. You're never alone. Family members lie close, their bodies pressed together for warmth. A child shifts beside you, murmuring softly in sleep. Someone coughs, deep and wet, the sound echoing in the small space. There is no privacy here, no separate rooms, no quiet corners. This single room is everything. Kitchen, bedroom, workshop, shelter, and sharing that space are the animals. You can hear them before you see them. A soft snort, the shuffle of hooves on packed earth, the slow, warm breath of a cow settling nearby. They were brought inside before winter truly began. Not out of kindness, but necessity. Their bodies give off heat. Their presence keeps the cold from becoming deadly. At least for a few more hours. The smell is strong. Animal breath, manure, old hay, human sweat soaked into wool and skin. It's not unpleasant to you. You're used to it. You barely notice it anymore. What you do notice is the cold air on your face. Your breath forms faint clouds in front of your mouth, even indoors. The fire died hours ago. There was no wood to keep it burning all night. There never is. You shift slightly, careful not to disturb the others. The straw crackles softly beneath you. Something itches at your ankle. Fleas. You scratch gently, half asleep. Everyone has them. They're just another companion of winter. Outside, the wind presses against the walls. You can hear it slip through the cracks in the wood, through the places where mud and straw once filled the gaps, but have slowly fallen away. The walls themselves feel cold. Stone and timber hold no warmth. They only steal it. Morning is coming, not because the room grows brighter, but because the cold deepens. This is how you wake up. Not refreshed, not warm, just still alive. And for now, that's enough. As the night loosens its grip and the embers fade to gray, the world shifts quietly once more, and we drift onward through this frozen morning. You lie there for a moment longer, not because you're lazy, but because moving means leaving what little warmth you've gathered. Your body knows this instinctively, so you wait. You listen to the room breathe. The animals stir first, a low grunt, a hoof scraping gently against packed earth. Their warmth rises in slow waves, mixing with the cold air that settles near the floor. Someone nearby shifts beneath a blanket. Wool against wool, a quiet sigh. Finally, you move. It's slow, careful. As you sit up, the cold rushes in immediately, slipping beneath your cloak, finding the small gaps near your neck, your wrists, your ankles. You pull the fabric tighter without thinking. Your hands are stiff, clumsy, slow to obey. The ground beneath your feet is hard, frozen, not icy, just unyielding. You wince slightly as weight settles into your joints. Every movement is a reminder. Winter has already taken its toll. You reach for your shoes. They're damp. They're always damp. Leather stiffened by cold, creaking, as you force your feet inside. You don't bother tightening them properly. There's no point. They'll loosen as the day goes on, or stiffen further if the cold wins. Nearby, a child wakes fully now, blinking, quiet, no crying. Children here learn early. Noise wastes energy. The room is still dark. Morning light hasn't reached you yet. There are no windows, only small openings, covered with cloth or thin horn designed more to keep wind out than let light in. Someone kneels by the hearth. You watch as they stir the ashes with a stick. Slowly, patiently, a faint red glow appears. Hope. A breath is held, then released. With care, dried kindling is added. A spark catches. Smoke rises, thick and sharp, curling toward the low ceiling. Your eyes sting slightly. You're used to that, too. The fire doesn't roar. It never does. Wood is precious. Every piece was cut, hauled, and dried with effort. Still, even a weak flame changes everything. The coal loosens its grip, just a little. You rub your hands together, not to warm them fully, that will take time, but to remind them they're still yours. The smell of smoke settles into the room, layering itself over wool, straw, animal breath, and damp earth. It clings to your hair, your skin, your clothes. You'll carry it with you all day. Breakfast is simple. If it exists at all, someone ladles thin pottage from a pot left near the hearth overnight. It's lukewarm, grayish, barely thick enough to call a meal. You accept it silently. The bowl warms your hands more than the food warms your stomach. You eat slowly, not because you're savoring it, but because there's no guarantee of more. Outside, the village begins to wake. You hear it through the walls. Footsteps crunching faintly over frozen ground. A distant cough. The muted sound of wood striking wood. Someone else coaxing life back into a stubborn fire. Morning has arrived. Not with sunlight, but with necessity. You pull your cloak tighter one last time. The day will be cold, hard, demanding, but for now, you've survived the night. And in winter, that alone feels like an accomplishment. As the pale morning settles over frost-bitten roofs and quiet breath fills the air, the world turns softly onward, carrying us deeper into this frozen life. The rhythm stays slow, the language stays soft. Nothing pulls you awake. The fire settles into a quiet crackle now, not loud, not lively, just enough to exist. You sit close to it, knees drawn in, cloak pooled around your legs. The warmth reaches your skin slowly, unevenly, as if it's deciding whether you're worth the effort. Your fingers hover near the flames. Too close, and they sting. Too far, and they numb again. You find the balance. Across the room, someone mends a tear in wool, needle moving carefully. Thread pulled tight with stiff hands. Another figure prepares for the day ahead, adjusting a belt, checking a tool, wrapping cloth around wrists to keep the cold from biting too deeply. No one speaks much. Words cost energy. And in winter, energy is precious. The smoke thickens briefly as damp wood catches. It curls into your eyes, your throat. You cough once, quietly, then breathe through it. Everyone does. Your hair smells of last night's fire, and the night before that, and the many nights before those. Bathing isn't part of winter life. Water is cold. Time is scarce. Warmth is reserved for survival, not comfort. Your skin itches beneath layers of wool and linen. You scratch absently at your arm, then your shoulder. The sensation never really goes away. Lice are common. Fleas, too. They live in seams and straw, in shared blankets. They survive winter better than most. You barely react now. This is simply how it is. A child yawns nearby, stretching slowly. Their feet are bare for a moment before they slip into oversized shoes, stuffed with cloth to keep out the cold. Someone reaches for them instinctively, adjusting their cloak, tugging fabric into place. Care here is quiet, practical. There's no excess warmth to give, but what exists is shared. Outside, light finally begins to change. Not bright, not golden, just a faint gray seep through the cracks in the walls. Enough to tell you the day has truly begun. You rise again, more steadily this time. Your body protests, but it moves. It always moves. You gather what little you'll carry, a tool, a scrap of food, a sense of routine that anchors you against the cold. Before stepping outside, you pause, not for prayer, not yet, just for a moment of stillness. Inside this room, you were sheltered, barely. Outside, winter waits patiently. You open the door. Cold air floods and immediately sharp, clean, unforgiving. It fills your lungs, wakes your skin, stiffens your resolve. Behind you, the fire crackles softly. Ahead of you, frost grips the ground like iron. You step forward anyway, because this is life, and winter does not pause for anyone. As breath turns to mist and the frozen earth creaks beneath careful steps, the world leans forward once more, guiding us deeper into the quiet rhythm of survival. The cold meets you fully now, not as a shock, but as a steady pressure, wrapping itself around your face, your hands, your breath. The ground beneath your feet is stiff and pale. Frost clings to dirt, to wood, to every exposed surface. Your footsteps leave shallow marks that fade almost immediately. Around you, the village wakes in the same quiet way. Doors open slowly. Figures step out, wrapped in wool and habit. No greetings are exchanged at first. Everyone is conserving warmth and strength. Smoke rises from rooftops in thin, uncertain lines. Each one marks a fire that survived the night or was coaxed back from dying embers. You pull your cloak tighter again, though it makes little difference. The cold has already settled into your bones. It will stay there all day. Your breath forms pale clouds that drift away as quickly as they appear. You watch them for a moment, then turn your attention back to the work waiting ahead. Sleep was never meant to be comfort here. It was shelter, temporary, fragile. At night your body curled inward, guarding warmth like treasure. Every shared blanket, every nearby body, every animal breath mattered. Sleep was survival, nothing more. You think briefly of the night just past, the itching straw, the stiffness, the shallow rest broken by cold and coughs and movement. And yet you survived it. That alone sets the tone for the day. Winter in medieval Europe is not fought in great battles. It isn't conquered with bold gestures. It's endured quietly. One night, one morning, one breath at a time. As the village settles into motion, you move with it. Another figure wrapped in wool, another body resisting the cold just long enough. There will be work soon. Hunger will return. Fatigue will deepen. But for now, you are awake. You are standing. And the night did not take you. As the frost softens beneath cautious steps and the morning stretches its pale light across the land, the world turns gently once more, and we drift onward through history. Winter days in medieval Europe were short, gray, and relentless. Survival demanded movement, even when the body begged for rest. You step fully into the day now. The door closes behind you with a dull wooden sound, and whatever warmth remained inside is gone. The air feels heavier than it did a moment ago. Colder, sharper. It presses against your face, slips beneath your cloak, settles into your chest with every breath you take. You inhale slowly through your nose. The cold stings. Your lungs tighten, then adjust. This is how winter teaches you to breathe. Around you, the village is awake. Not lively, not loud, just moving. Figures pass quietly along narrow paths worn into frozen earth. Everyone is wrapped in layers of wool and habit. Hoods pulled low, hands hidden inside sleeves. No one lingers. Standing still in winter is dangerous. You begin walking, feeling the stiffness in your legs ease just slightly with each step. Movement brings warmth, eventually, but it also brings exhaustion. The work waiting for you today is the same work waiting every winter morning. Firewood. Without it, nothing else matters. You reach for the axe resting against the wall. The handle is cold, painfully so. You adjust your grip, letting your palms grow accustomed to the bite. Each swing feels heavier than it should. The wood is frozen, stubborn, resistant. Your shoulders strain. Your breath clouds the air in uneven bursts. There is no rhythm yet, only effort. Nearby, others work in silence. The sound of metal striking wood echoes softly across the village, a slow, steady pulse. No one speaks. Talking wastes breath, and breath is heat. Your hands begin to ache, then burn, then slowly go numb. You pause just long enough to flex your fingers, pressing them together, tucking them beneath your arms. Too long a pause would undo what little warmth you've gained. Winter allows no indulgence. You think briefly of summer, not with longing, but with distance. Summer is a different life. Winter rewrites everything. Food is scarcer now. Every movement is calculated. Every task is chosen for necessity, not comfort. By mid-morning, hunger begins to stir again. Not sharply, not urgently. Just a quiet, hollow reminder beneath your ribs. You ignore it. You always do. Children pass nearby, carrying smaller bundles of wood. Their steps are careful. Their faces serious beyond their years. Here, childhood is short. Old age arrives early. You straighten slowly, resting the axe head against the ground. Your back protests, your shoulders tighten. The cold hasn't left you. It never truly will. It simply retreats when forced, waiting patiently for you to slow down. And winter knows, eventually, everyone slows. As the pale sun climbs just high enough to cast long, quiet shadows, the world keeps turning, and we drift deeper into this frozen day. The morning stretches on, not quickly, not kindly. Time in winter feels heavier, as if each hour weighs more than the last. You move from one task to another without ceremony. There's no list, no plan written down. You simply do what must be done, because not doing it would mean cold or hunger, or both. Water comes next. The path to the well is hard and slick beneath your feet. Patches of ice hide beneath thin layers of snow and dirt. You walk carefully, each step deliberate. A fall here wouldn't just hurt. It could end your usefulness for days or longer. The bucket feels heavier than it should. Everything does in winter. As you lower it slowly into the dark opening of the well, a faint echo returns. Wood against stone, rope against frozen fingers. You brace yourself and pull. The water that comes up is clear and painfully cold. It sloshes gently as you lift the bucket free, sending a few drops over the edge. They soak into your shoes almost immediately. You don't curse. There's no point. Cold feet are part of the day now. Around you, others work through their own routines. Women bend over low tasks, hands moving quickly to keep blood flowing. Their fingers are red and cracked, skin split and sore. They work anyway. Children are given what they can manage, not because anyone is cruel, but because every pair of hands matters. You watch one child struggle with a bundle of sticks nearly as tall as they are. No one rushes to help. They'll learn. They have to. Nearby, An older figure works more slowly now. Their movements are careful, measured, conserving strength. Age shows itself differently in winter, not in gray hair, but in how long it takes to straighten after bending, how often breath must be paused to recover. There is no formal rest. You lean briefly against a wall, back pressed to cold stone. The chill seeps through your clothing instantly, reminding you not to linger. You push away and return to movement. By midday, the light is already beginning to fade. The sun never rises high in winter. It skims the sky briefly, pale and distant, offering little warmth before sinking again. Food, when it comes, is minimal. A crust of bread, a small portion of something boiled and thin, enough to quiet hunger, not enough to satisfy it. You eat lowly, standing, wrapped in your cloak. There is no table, no ceremony. Eating is fuel, nothing more. You feel the warmth of the food briefly in your chest. Then it's gone. The hunger remains, softened but not silenced. Work resumes. There is always more to do. Animals need tending. Tools need mending. Supplies must be checked and counted again and again. Winter allows no mistakes. As the afternoon drags on, fatigue settles deeper into your body. Your movements slow. Your breath shortens. You notice it and push through anyway. This is what winter demands. Not strength, but persistence. As the pale daylight thins and the village shadows stretch long and quiet, the world leans gently forward once more, and we continue onward through this cold-bound day. As the afternoon settles in, the differences between people grow easier to notice. Not spoken, not announced, just visible. You see it in clothing first. Some cloaks are thicker, better mended, lined more carefully. Others, like yours, are worn thin at the elbows, shiny at the folds, patched more times than you can remember. No one comments on it. Everyone understands. Winter exposes hierarchy the way cold exposes skin. Those with means move a little less. They stand a little closer to fires. They eat a little more regularly, not lavishly. Never lavishly, but enough. You pass near a larger structure, stone instead of wood. The walls are thicker, the roof tighter. Inside, you know, the cold still exists, but it moves slower there. It takes longer to settle into the bones. You don't resent it. Resentment wastes energy too. Instead, you return to your own tasks. A tool needs fixing. The handle has loosened with moisture and cold. You work it carefully, fingers clumsy but practiced. The wood creaks as you tighten it. It will hold for now. Nearby, someone sharpens a blade against stone. The sound is slow and steady, repetitive, almost soothing. Children have grown quieter now. The early energy of morning is gone. They move more slowly, dragging their feet, hands tucked deep into sleeves. No one scolds them. Winter fatigue is understood. Age and gender shape the work, but not always as clearly as stories suggest. Women haul, men mend, children carry, elders advise, or simply endure. Survival blurs the rules. The cold doesn't care who you are. It presses into everyone equally, but it takes the weakest first. You notice how often people cough now. Short coughs, deep ones. No one reacts. Illness in winter is expected, feared, but expected. By late afternoon, shadows stretch long across the ground. The light dulls further, draining what little color existed. You feel it in your body, not just tired, but hollow. Your limbs are heavier now, your thoughts slower. You don't fight it. This is the rhythm of the season. As work finally begins to wind down, there's a quiet understanding shared among the village. Night is coming, and night belongs to the cold. As the sun slips low and the final tasks are finished in silence, the world turns softly again, guiding us toward the long winter evening. The light fades almost without warning. One moment the world is gray, the next it is dim. Winter evenings arrive early, quietly, as if trying not to draw attention to themselves. You feel the change before you truly see it. The air cools again, tightening around your face and hands. Whatever warmth your body gathered through movement begins to slip away. Work slows, then stops. Not because everything is finished, but because daylight is gone. Tools are set aside carefully, not tossed, not rushed. A broken tool in winter can mean days of struggle, or worse. You gather what you can carry. Firewood is counted and recounted. Each piece matters now more than ever. Your shoulders ache as you lift the bundle. The weight presses down, steady and familiar. Around you, others do the same. No one lingers outside longer than necessary. You turn toward home. The path feels longer in the evening. Your steps drag slightly now, boots heavy with cold and damp. Your breath comes slower, deeper. Hunger stirs again, not sharp, just present. Inside the house, the fire must be rebuilt. That is the first priority. Always, you enter, closing the door quickly behind you. The small space traps what little warmth exists. The room smells different now, cooler, staler. Ashes are stirred. Kindling is placed carefully. A spark catches. Then another. Soon a small flame returns. You sit close, hands extended, feeling the heat crawl back into your fingers. It tingles at first, then aches. This pain means life. Dinner is simple. What remains from earlier? What can be spared? You eat slowly again, savoring warmth more than taste. Conversation, if it happens, is soft, short. The day has taken much from everyone. As night settles fully outside, the walls seem to close in slightly. Not threatening, just enclosing. This space will shelter you again. Barely. You adjust your bedding for the night. Straw shaken. Blankets positioned carefully. Animals settle in once more, their presence steady and warm. Your body sinks down, exhausted. The work of the day is done, but winter's work never truly ends. Tomorrow will ask the same of you, and the day after that, and many more still. For now, though, you rest. You've earned that much. As the fire lowers to a quiet glow and the village disappears into darkness, the world turns gently once again, and we drift onward through history. When darkness stretched for endless hours in medieval Europe, belief became warmth, prayer, superstition, and fear sharing the same fire. You sit close to the fire again, not for comfort, for survival. Outside, the world has vanished into darkness. There are no lamps along the paths, no glow beyond the faint spill of firelight through narrow gaps in the walls. Night in winter is absolute. Inside, shadows move slowly as the flames shift. They stretch across the walls, climb the ceiling, then retreat again. Familiar shapes become uncertain. A hanging cloak looks like a figure. A bundle of tools resembles something watching. You know better. Still, you watch them carefully. The fire crackles low, steady, never loud. Too much noise would mean too much wood. Someone crosses themselves quietly. The movement is small, almost absent-minded, a habit learned early and never unlearned. You feel the day settling into your body now. Not just fatigue, but a deeper heaviness. The kind that makes thoughts slow, that softens the edges of worry, but never erases it completely. Prayer begins without announcement. No one raises their voice. No one stands. Words are murmured, barely louder than breath. Familiar phrases, repeated night after night, winter after winter. You don't think about each word anymore. You let them flow. They are less about meaning now, and more about rhythm, about routine, about holding fear at bay. Winter is a season of questions. Will the food last? Will the cough deepen? Will the cold claim someone before morning? Faith doesn't answer these questions, but it gives them somewhere to rest. A charm hangs near the hearth, a small bundle of herbs dried and tied with twine. It was placed there long ago. No one remembers exactly when, or by whom. It stays. Superstition and belief live comfortably together here. There is no line between them. You believe in God, and you believe the herbs might help. You believe prayer matters, and you believe certain nights are dangerous. No one laughs at this. Winter humbles everyone equally. As the fire burns lower, someone tells a story. Not loudly, not dramatically, just enough to fill the space between thoughts. It's a familiar tale, one you've heard before. You know how it ends. Still, you listen. Stories keep the mind warm. They keep fear from growing too large in the dark. Outside, the wind brushes against the walls again. Not hard, just enough to remind you it's there. You pull your cloak closer. Faith isn't always loud. Often it's just this, sitting, listening, enduring. As the fire settles into embers and whispered prayers fade into silence, the world shifts gently once more, and we drift deeper into the long winter night. The fire sinks lower, not suddenly, just enough that you notice the room growing quieter, darker, more still. Someone adds a small piece of wood. Not enough to brighten the space, only enough to keep the embers breathing. Flames flicker briefly, then settle again. You shift where you sit, easing the weight from one hip to the other. The floor is hard beneath you. Cold creeps upwards slowly, patiently. Night stretches differently in winter. It doesn't rush, it lingers. Hours pass without markers. There are no clocks here, only the rhythm of breath, the slow burn of fire, the distant sound of wind moving across the land. Superstition fills the quiet spaces, not loudly, not dramatically, just present. You're careful not to whistle indoors at night. Someone once said it invites things that listen. You don't step over tools left on the floor. Bad luck, they say. Winter brings enough trouble without tempting more. A child asks softly about a noise outside. An older voice answers gently. It's just the wind, it might be. Still, everyone listens. In winter, danger doesn't always announce itself. It arrives quietly in illness and hunger, in accidents that would be harmless in warmer months. You glance toward the door. The wood is thick, but not thick enough to feel fully secure. There are stories about winter nights. Everyone knows them. Wills drawn closer by hunger. Strangers seeking shelter or something else. Spirits that wander when the cold is deepest. You don't dwell on these tales. Dwelling gives them power. Instead, you focus on what's real. The fire, the people nearby, the shared warmth of bodies and breath. Someone murmurs another prayer, not formal, not from memory, just a few words spoken softly, as if hoping not to be overheard. You close your eyes for a moment, not to sleep, not yet, just to rest them. The darkness behind your eyelids is gentler than the one beyond the walls. Here, nothing moves unless you imagine it. Your breathing slows in and out. Belief, you realize, isn't always about hope. Sometimes it's simply about endurance, about giving the mind something steady to hold on to when everything else feels uncertain. The fire shifts again. An ember collapses inward with a faint sound. No one reacts. Silence returns. Night continues. As shadows stretch and the fire settles into its quiet rhythm, the world turns softly again, carrying us deeper into the long, believing dark. The fire is low now, not gone, just reduced to a soft glow, a scattered constellation of embers resting beneath ash. The room feels smaller in the dark, not threatening, just enclosed. Sounds soften, movement slows. One by one, people begin to prepare for sleep again, not with ceremony, but with familiarity. You rise carefully, joints stiff from sitting too long. Your body protests in quiet ways, a tightening in the lower back, a dull ache behind the knees. You ignore it. Everyone does. You return to the place you'll sleep, the straw arranged earlier, blankets positioned carefully, cloaks folded and reused. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is casual. You lower yourself down slowly, feeling the straw shift beneath your weight. It rustles softly, then settles. Nearby, others do the same. There is no talking now, only the small sounds of bodies finding positions that might allow rest, might allow warmth. Someone coughs again. The sound echoes faintly, then disappears. A child turns, pressing closer to an adult. An arm shifts instinctively, drawing them in. Warmth is shared without words. You pull your cloak over your shoulders and tuck your hands beneath it, folding your arms close to your chest. Your breath slows as you lie still. In the darkness, thoughts drift. Not sharply, not urgently, just fragments. The work of the day, the ache in your hands, the way the firewood stack looks smaller than it should. You push those thoughts aside gently. Worry serves no purpose now. Sleep, when it comes, is never deep in winter. It arrives in pieces. You drift, then surface. A sound pulls you back, a shifting animal, a creak of wood as the house settles in the cold. You breathe and let go again. Dreams come softly, not vivid, not strange. Simple things? Warmth, light, movement without pain. At times you wake without opening your eyes, aware only of cold pressing closer. You adjust your position slightly, pull fabric tighter, shift nearer to another body, then stillness returns. Faith doesn't leave you at night. It lingers quietly, woven into habit, into breath, into the simple belief that morning will come again. Eventually, exhaustion wins, not dramatically, just gently. Your breathing evens out, your thoughts loosen. The fire holds through the night, barely, and so do you. As embers glow faintly beneath the ash and sleep drifts like quiet snowfall, the world turns once more, carrying us onward through the deep winter night. The deepest part of the night arrives without announcement. No bell marks it. No sound announces the hour. It simply settles. The fire is now only memory, a dull warmth hidden beneath ash, its light barely strong enough to shape the room. Cold moves in carefully, as if testing whether it's welcome. It slips along the floor first, then into the walls, then slowly into bodies. You stir without fully waking. Your breath catches slightly as the air cools around your face. Instinct draws you inward, arms tighter, knees closer, chin tucked down. You don't think. You've done this too many times. Somewhere nearby, an animal shifts in its sleep. A soft sound, a reminder of warmth still present. The house creaks once, quietly, wood contracting under cold pressure. For a moment your thoughts hover at the edge of waking. Not fear, exactly, but awareness. This is the hour people speak of in stories. When illness worsens, when cold takes those already weakened, when the world feels thinnest. You remember hearing long ago that this is when prayers matter most. Not loud ones, not spoken ones, just the quiet hope that breath will continue, that warmth will return. That morning will arrive as it always has before. You don't move. Movement lets the cold in faster. So you lie still, listening to the slow, shared rhythm of breathing around you. In, out. The sound is comforting, human, real. The fear doesn't disappear. It never does, but it softens. It knows you are not alone. Gradually thought dissolves again. Not into dreams, just into rest. Time passes. Unmeasured. Outside the wind eases. Snow settles quietly. The world holds its breath. Inside, bodies endure. And at some point, so subtle you don't notice, the night begins to loosen its grip. The cold remains. The struggle remains. But something shifts. Morning is on its way. As the darkest hour gives way to the faintest promise of return, the world turns gently once more, and we drift onward through history. Some winters in medieval Europe were remembered not by dates, but by names the people who did not live to see spring. Morning returns again, not triumphantly, not brightly, just faithfully. You wake the same way you always do in winter, slowly, stiffly aware of your body before your thoughts. The cold is still there. It hasn't left during the night. It never truly does. As you rise, you notice the room feels different, quieter, not in a peaceful way, but in a measured one. Someone didn't wake with you. There is no alarm, no outcry, just the absence of movement where there should have been some. You don't rush to conclusions. Winter has taught you patience and caution. But as others stir, as the fire is coaxed back to life, it becomes clear. An older body, already worn thin by hunger and cold, has reached its limit. No one panics. Grief in winter is subdued. There is too much still to do. A blanket is drawn higher. A few words are spoken softly. Not prayers yet, those will come later. For now there is the practical reality of loss. Death in winter is not shocking here. It is expected. Children and elders are always closest to the edge. A fever, a cough, a fall on frozen ground. Small things become fatal when warmth and strength are scarce. You step outside later that morning, breath clouding again in the pale air. The village moves on, but it moves differently. Fewer footsteps, one less voice. You notice how people glance at one another more often now, quietly counting, checking. Winter turns survival into a shared awareness. Food is measured again. Firewood is reconsidered. Every decision grows heavier. You remember other winters like this, years when stores ran low too early, when animals didn't make it through, when names stopped being spoken by spring. There are winters people talk about long after they end, not because they were the coldest, but because they took the most. You work anyway, because work does not stop for grief, and grief here is carried alongside labor, not instead of it. As the day unfolds, you notice something else too. Despite the loss, despite the cold, people endure. They share more closely. They watch more carefully. They move a little slower and a little closer together. Winter takes, but it also teaches what must be protected. As the pale day advances and the weight of survival settles quietly on every step, the world turns once more, and we drift deeper into winter's reckoning. As the days pass, the pattern becomes clearer. Winter doesn't strike all at once. It wears people down. Slowly, patiently, hunger deepens first, not as pain but as absence. Meals grow smaller without announcement. The pot is filled with more water than grain. Bread is sliced thinner, then thinner again. No one complains. Complaining changes nothing. You feel it in your body long before you admit it. Your strength fades more quickly. Your hands tremble slightly when you stop moving. The cold returns faster than it used to. Hunger makes winter sharper. It steals the body's ability to warm itself. It turns small illnesses into long ones. It makes sleep lighter and waking harder. Coughs linger now. They echo longer in the mornings. Sound wetter, deeper. You learn to recognize which ones are dangerous. Some fade, some do not. Illness spreads easily in winter. People share air, space, warmth. Isolation would be safer, but impossible. You sit close because you must. You breathe the same air because there is no other choice. When someone grows too weak to work, the village adjusts quietly. Others take on more. Children are asked to do what adults no longer can. No ceremony marks the shift. It simply happens. You notice how carefully people move now. No wasted steps, no unnecessary effort. Even speech becomes economical. Winter teaches efficiency through necessity. And yet, this is also when endurance shows itself most clearly. Someone brings a bowl to another without being asked. Firewood is shared, reluctantly sometimes, but shared. A child is pulled closer into warmth without comment. These small acts don't stop winter, but they slow it. You begin to understand something unspoken. Survival here is not individual. It never was. Those who endure longest do so because they are watched, counted, remembered. Those who fade are often the ones who slip to the edges. By late winter, everyone looks thinner. Faces sharpen. Clothing hangs looser. Eyes seem larger in hollowed cheeks. But spring is spoken of more often now, quietly, carefully. Not with hope exactly, but with acknowledgement. It will come. It always has. Even the worst winters end eventually. Until then, you endure. As hunger lingers and resolve settles quietly into every movement, the world turns once more, and we drift onward through winter's long trial. Here, winter no longer feels sudden or cruel. It feels endured. By now, you know winter well, not as an enemy you fight, but as a presence you adapt to. Small changes begin to matter more than strength ever did. You notice how people arrange themselves closer at night, how bedding is shifted again and again to trap warmth just a little longer. how doors are sealed tighter with cloth and straw where the wind once crept in. None of this is new knowledge. It's old knowledge passed quietly from one winter to the next. You add hot stones to the bedding when you can. Wrapped in cloth, they hold heat through the first hours of night. Not long, but long enough. Firewood is rationed with care now. Not evenly, but wisely, the sick receive more. The very young, those who still have work to do tomorrow. No one announces these choices. They are understood. You notice how routine itself becomes a form of resilience. Waking at the same time, working in the same order, eating in the same quiet way. Predictability steadies the mind when the body is strained. You also notice who survives best. Not always the strongest, but the ones who conserve energy, who rest when possible, who accept help without pride. Winter humbles pride quickly. Those who cling too tightly to independence fade faster. You adjust your own habits. You move more carefully now. You lift differently. You stop sooner when fatigue deepens. This isn't weakness. It's learning. You think about how winters shape people over time. How children raised in cold learn patience early. How elders carry knowledge earned through survival, not books. Winter sharpens memory. People remember which foods last, which tools fail, which places stay warmer than others. By late winter, you can feel the shift, not in temperature, but in light. Days lengthen by moments, minutes. The sun lingers just a little longer in the sky. It's not warmth yet, but it's a promise. You see it in the way people begin to speak again, slightly more, slightly brighter. No celebrations, just acknowledgement. You've made it this far, and that matters. As the days stretch almost imperceptibly longer and endurance settles into quiet habit, the world turns gently once more, carrying us closer to winter's end. When winter took lives and what helped others endure one morning, you notice it. Not warmth, not yet, just change. The air feels different when you step outside. Still cold, still sharp, but no longer endless. The frost softens underfoot instead of biting back. Snow, where it remains, looks thinner, tired as if it, too, has endured enough. You breathe in slowly. The air smells faintly of damp earth beneath the cold, a scent you haven't noticed in months. The village moves a little differently now. People linger for a moment longer outside, not because they're careless, but because standing still no longer feels dangerous. The firewood pile is smaller than it should be, but it has lasted. The food stores are low, but not empty. You count those who remain, not openly, never openly, but you know who's gone. Everyone does. Winter leaves marks that don't fade quickly. Some are visible, thinner bodies, slower steps, deeper lines and faces. Others are quieter. A habit of saving, a reluctance to waste, a pause before comfort is accepted. You carry winter forward, even as it loosens its grip. This is how medieval winters shape lives. Not with dramatic endings, but with lasting restraint. You think of those who didn't reach this moment, not with ceremony, just with acknowledgement. They are part of this survival, too. As the days lengthen, work shifts again. Different tasks, different rhythms. The cold will return next year. Everyone knows that. Winter is never a single season here. It's a cycle. And each year, people endure it again, armed with memory, with routine, with quiet resilience. You stand in the pale light, feeling it rest on your face, For the first time in months, it doesn't feel like an enemy. Just a reminder, you survived. As the last traces of winter loosen their hold, and the land prepares once more to breathe, the world turns gently again, and we drift toward reflection. In medieval Europe, winter was not measured in days or weeks. It was measured in endurance, repetition, and waiting. You wake again, not surprised, not refreshed, just awake. Another winter morning arrives the same way the last one did, quietly, without announcement, without promise. At first, you're not entirely sure which day it is. That happens often now. Days blur together in winter. They lose their edges. They stop standing apart. You lie still for a moment, listening. The same sounds return to you, breathing nearby. A shifting animal, the faint whisper of wind pressing against the walls. Nothing has changed, and in winter that is both comforting and exhausting. You sit up slowly, already knowing what the day will bring. Cold, routine, waiting. There is no sense of progress anymore, no feeling of moving forward. Only endurance. You move through the same motions you've repeated for weeks now. You pull on the same clothes, fold the same cloak around your shoulders, adjust the same worn fabric at your wrists and neck. Your body remembers these movements better than your mind does. They happen automatically. The fire is coaxed back to life in the same careful way. Ash stirred, kindling placed, breath held, then released. The flame appears, not joyfully, just reliably. You warm your hands as you always do. Turn them slowly, front, then back. The heat never reaches far, but it doesn't need to. It only needs to remind you that warmth still exists. Breakfast, if it can be called that, is the same again. Thin, simple, unremarkable. You eat without thinking much about it. Taste has become secondary. Function matters more. Outside, the village moves into another day that looks almost identical to the one before it. Footsteps follow familiar paths. Tools are lifted the same way. Tasks begin without discussion. No one asks, "What day is it?" It doesn't matter. Winter has flattened time into something else, a long, continuous present. As you work, you notice how often your thoughts drift. Not to memories, not to plans, just drifting. You think about warmth, then stop thinking. You think about spring, then let it go. Hope is quiet now, not gone, just resting. Waiting has become a skill, and like all skills, it has been learned slowly through repetition. As the hours pass without distinction and the day folds gently into itself, the world turns softly once more, and we drift deeper into the long waiting. After a while, you stop noticing the cold as sharply as you once did. It's still there. It still presses against your skin, still settles into your joints, still waits patiently for you to slow down. But it no longer surprises you. Winter has become familiar. You move through the day almost without marking it. The same tasks return, the same paths beneath your feet, the same sounds, wood, breath, wool shifting against wool. You don't count hours anymore. You measure time by feeling, by how stiff your hands are when you stop, by how quickly hunger returns after eating, by how early darkness arrives. Some days feel longer than others. Most feel the same. You notice how conversation has thinned, not because people are unhappy, but because everything that needs saying has already been said. Words repeat just like the days do. So silence grows, a comfortable silence, a shared one. You work beside others without looking at them much, not out of distance, but because presence is already understood. You know who will lift the next bundle, who will tend the fire, who will move slowly today. Winter makes people predictable in gentle ways. At times you pause and simply stand, not resting exactly, just existing. Your breath fogs the air in front of you, then disappears. You watch it fade again and again. Each breath looks the same as the one before it. This becomes strangely calming. Inside, something settles. The sharp edge of worry dulls. Fear, once loud, grows quieter. You are no longer bracing against winter. You are moving with it. Waiting has taught you patience, not as an idea, but as a physical state. Your body knows how to endure now. As the day leans toward evening, though you only know this because the light thins, you feel no rush. Night will come when it comes. You'll respond the same way you always do. Fire, food, rest. Routine has become shelter, and within it you wait. As another indistinguishable day settles softly into dusk, and time stretches without edges, the world turns once more, and we continue drifting through the long winter waiting. At first you think you're imagining it. The light seems to linger just a moment longer than it used to. Not enough to matter, not enough to warm anything, just enough to notice. You don't mention it. Winter has taught you not to trust small changes. Still, over the next days or perhaps weeks, you're no longer sure. You notice it again. The sun slips away a little later. Shadows stretch differently across the ground. The gray of the sky feels thinner somehow. No one celebrates this. Celebration would tempt disappointment. Instead, people observe quietly. Waiting has made everyone careful. You feel the change in your body too. Not strength, not yet. Just ease. Your hands don't numb quite as quickly when you stop moving. The fire seems to last a little longer in the evening. The air smells different on certain days, damp, earthy, faintly alive beneath the cold. Mud begins to replace snow in places where footsteps gather. It's messier, heavier, but it's movement. You step around it carefully, boots sinking slightly, pulling free with a soft sound. The ground is waking slowly, reluctantly. Work shifts in subtle ways. Not new tasks, just adjusted ones. Firewood is still needed. Food is still scarce. But planning creeps back in. Someone mentions repairing a fence soon. Another talks quietly about seeds. Not planting them, just checking them. These are not hopes. They are acknowledgments. Winter hasn't ended yet, but it has changed. You notice how people carry themselves now, still cautious, still tired, but less withdrawn. Conversation stretches a little longer by the fire. Silences feel lighter. Waiting no longer feels endless. It has an edge again, not sharp, just defined. You still wake cold, still work through fatigue, still conserve warmth, but the waiting has shifted. It is no longer about survival alone. It is about arrival, and you don't rush it. You've learned better than that. As the days begin to show their faintest signs of change, and waiting softens into quiet recognition, the world turns gently once more, and we drift toward winter's final breath. Eventually, the waiting changes again. Not suddenly, not dramatically, just enough that you feel it before you think it. You wake one morning and realize you know which day it is, not because it matters, but because time has begun to separate itself again. Morning feels like morning now. Evening feels like evening. The days have edges. The cold is still present, but it no longer dominates every thought. It no longer fills every silence. You still wrap your cloak tightly, still move carefully, still save what you can. But the constant vigilance eases. You notice yourself pausing for no reason at all, standing in the pale light, letting it rest on your face for a moment longer than necessary. The village does the same. People linger near doorways, speak a little more, sit without immediately rising again. No one announces that winter is ending. It simply releases you. Gradually, you look back on the long stretch of sameness, the mornings that blended together, the days that felt endless, the nights that asked nothing but endurance. You realize something quietly. Waiting did not empty you. It shaped you. It taught your body when to move, when to rest, when to conserve, when to accept help. It taught your mind how to soften fear into patience. Time, once heavy and slow, feels lighter now. Not fast, just flowing again. Winter hasn't vanished. It never truly does in memory, but it no longer defines every breath. You stand within the calm that follows endurance, a calm earned slowly, without celebration, without relief, just acceptance. You survived not because you rushed, not because you fought, but because you waited. As winter loosens its final hold and time begins to move gently forward once more, the world turns softly again, carrying us toward reflection and rest. The journey slows now. There's nothing left to prove, nothing left to endure, nothing left to explain, only reflection. As you think back on these long winter lives, you begin to understand something quietly important. Survival for them was never heroic. It wasn't dramatic. It didn't come with triumph or celebration. It came through repetition, through patience, through shared warmth and quiet habits. The real heroes of medieval winter weren't kings or knights. They were ordinary people, waking cold, working hungry, waiting without certainty, and somehow continuing. Their lives were shaped by the same needs that shape yours now: warmth, rest, safety, hope. Only the tools have changed. Tonight you drifted through frozen medieval nights, where families slept close together beneath worn wool and fading embers. You worked through pale winter days, hauling wood and water, while hunger quietly followed. You sat by firelight as fear softened into faith, and prayer blended with superstition in the long dark hours. You witnessed winters that took lives and the quiet resilience that carried others through. And finally, you waited patiently as time stretched, blurred, and slowly found its shape again. These lives were fragile, but they endured. Now the past can rest. And so can you. The cold you imagined stays behind in those long forgotten winters. Here, in this moment, you are warm enough, safe enough, at rest. Let your breathing slow, in and out. There's no need to carry their struggle forward. Only the quiet reminder that endurance doesn't need noise, and survival doesn't need witnesses. If this journey through time brought you comfort tonight, you're gently invited to like and subscribe so you can return whenever the night feels long. Until next time, may your dreams be warm and your night peaceful. Sleep softly, traveler of the night. May the past be gentle in your dreams. Until then, Good night.